Aloha, welcome to another SPO video using NICS codes in HIePRO. In this session, you'll learn about the NICS codes used in HIePRO and how to find the right one for your solicitation. We'll also cover the transition from NIGP to NICS and what to expect. Just to let you know, we're trying to record on this session, so if something goes awry, just be patient. Here are all the areas we'll cover today, and pretty much the order we'll cover them. We'll start with why we even use codes, and then cover NICS and its principles to give you an idea of what to expect from the code. We'll look at the structure of NICS so you're better able to search, cover the transition in HIePRO, and end the slide portion with the resources you have at your fingertips to find the right codes. Next, we'll go to the HIePRO site and demonstrate finding codes in a number of ways. We'll also briefly show you how to conduct part of your market research, that is, seeing if vendors who can deliver you goods and services are in HIePRO. So why do we even use codes? Well, for HIePRO, it's the way vendors get the notices of solicitations that apply to them. When vendors register in HIePRO, they develop a code profile by selecting the codes appropriate to what they sell. Each buyer must select a code when creating a solicitation in HIePRO. When the solicitation is published, that is, released to the Internet, email notices of the solicitation are sent to those vendors registered in HIePRO who included the code in their profile. Note that vendors may include more than one code in their profile, and they're encouraged to include all appropriate codes to ensure they get the notices of solicitation. If applicable, buyers may also include more than one NICS code when issuing a solicitation. If a buyer includes two or more codes, the notice is sent to vendors who have any of the codes in their profile, similar to NIGP. Prior to soliciting, we as buyers must do our market research. Part of that research is ensuring there are vendors in HIePRO who can respond to the solicitation. You always want to conduct a vendor search by the code you've selected before releasing your solicitation. It's a best practice. The North American Industry Classification System, or NAICS, is a system of classifying businesses by the type of economic activity. The classification code system is specifically for Canada, Mexico, and the U.S. The purpose of NICS is to have a uniform system so statistical data can be collected and analyzed with regard to the economy of North America. Note that this set of codes is industry-based, not commodity-based. When choosing your codes, you'll be thinking of the activities of the business you would typically target rather than just what you want to buy. You'll see the words commodity codes on HIePRO, even though these are industry codes. That's because everyone knows the codes as commodity codes. Eventually, you will see the words commodity codes replaced by the words codes. It helps to know the principles behind classification systems in order to understand how to use them. NICS is production-oriented. That is, it looks for same or similar production processes. Again, activity-focused. NICS also pays special attention to new classifications for new and emerging industries, service industries in general, and industries engaged in advanced technologies. NICS is reviewed every 5 years, and the next revision is in 2017. Here are the advantages of using NICS. Using NICS does not cost anything. That's a cost savings to the state of about $12,000 a year. The NICS website has a number of resources. We'll show those to you later. Lastly, the SBA, Small Business Association, criteria for small business is defined using NICS codes. You will see 6-digit codes in HIePRO. It works in a way similar to the NIGP codes did, in that the more digits, the more specificity. The first 2 digits are the economic sector. The third digit is the subsector. The fourth digit is the industry group. The fifth digit is the NICS industry, and the sixth digit is the national industry. When the sixth digit is 0, you will see the title is the same as the 5-digit code. The first 2 digits are the economic sector. In this case, agriculture, forestry, fishing, and hunting. Under the economic sector is a subsector. In this case, crop production, which is the 3rd digit. The 4th digit is the industry group, oilseed and grain farming. The 5th digit is the NICS industry, and the 6th digit is the country industry, both of which are soybean farming. Sometimes the 6th digit, the country industry, will be 0. When this happens, it's the same as the title above it. That is the NICS industry. Other times, it will actually have a digit, and there will be more than one in the country industry. Let's take a look at Economic Sector 23, construction. One of the subsectors is construction of buildings. Under that, the industry groups include residential and non-residential. The NICS industry codes under non-residential include industrial building construction 23621 and commercial and institutional 23712. Notice that those are 5-digit codes. When you go to HIePRO, it only uses 6-digit codes. If you enter the 5-digit code, all the 6-digit codes with those 5 digits will appear. If you search in HIePRO or the NICS site, you will see that the 6-digit code for the NICS industries above ends in 0 and therefore has the same title. Once the NICS codes are in place today, there will be no option to use NIGP codes. Only NICS codes can be used. Vendors who register will not even see the NIGP codes. So what about solicitations caught in the middle? The NIGP codes, while not visible, will work for those solicitations that are already released, in that addenda will go to those vendors who had those NIGP codes prior to the change. If you have a solicitation that has not made it to the internet by the date of the change, you will need to convert to NICS codes. For instance, if it's in draft with an NIGP code, you will need to enter the NICS code before you'll be able to release it. Sorry, it doesn't convert it for you. Likewise, if it's in approval on the date of the change today, the approver will have to reject it so you can enter the proper NICS code. Awards are not really affected by NICS codes, since the award notice goes to those who submitted an offer, or in the case of an amendment to an award, it goes to the awardee. All resources are available from the HIePRO site. Probably the best resource is the NICS site itself. It has the ability to search the code, but also has several documents. One document explains the codes and provides definitions. There are also Microsoft Excel files containing the NICS codes that you can download and study if you have problems sleeping. On the NICS site is also Ask Dr. NICS. If you conduct a search on the NICS website and get no results, you'll see a message about asking Dr. NICS either through email or calling a phone number. I tried it by sending an email, and the next slide is a sample of the results I received the following day. Another resource accessible from the login page of HIePRO is a crosswalk of the most commonly used NIGP codes in HIePRO and the corresponding NAICS code. Lastly, you can also search from the Line Items tab when you're creating your solicitation. We'll be showing all of these to you in a few minutes. Here is the response from Dr. NIGPS. And now, onto the demonstration. So here we are at the HIePRO training site at the login page. It hasn't changed very much. If you select commodity codes from the banner menu or the menu bar, you will see this paragraph with a link to the NICS website so that you can search. This also appears when you log in. We'll go to the NICS site in a minute. So this is one place in HIePRO from which you can access the NICS site. Further down the page, excuse me, I'm having a few gross motor coordination problems. Further down the page, right above the login button, is a link, Learn More About HIePRO. Selecting this and then selecting Common NIGP to NICS codes brings up the crosswalk to NICS codes created by SPO from the most commonly used NIGP codes in HIePRO. Note that it's not always a one-to-one reference. That is, it may be that there are several NIGP codes that are equivalent to only one NICS code, or that there may be one NIGP code that is equivalent to several NICS codes. For instance, in NICS, vehicles have wholesalers and dealers. The question you ask yourself is, do we usually buy from wholesalers or dealers? There may be times when you want to use both codes. Let's go back to the HIePRO website and log in. At the top of the page, once you log in, you'll see that the commodity codes link is there with the same link to the NICS site. The same link is also available when you select Create Solicitation and select the Line Items tab. Add new line item. The same link to the NICS code, the NICS website is there. So let's go to the NICS website at this point. You'll notice that the NICS website is part of the U.S. Census Bureau. At the top on the left, you'll see several code search boxes. Use the 2012 search to find your codes. That's the version that's used in HIePRO. Further down the side of the page, under Downloads, Reference Files, and Tools, there are several links. Select 2012 NIGPs. The page that comes up has two sections. The topmost section is a listing of all the economic sectors, the highest category in NAICS, that is, the first two digits of the code. Notice that there aren't very many. Each of the economic sectors numbers are links that show all the subsectors, industry groups, NICS industries, and country industries within them. On the bottom half of the page, are several files. The first document, 2012 definitions, is just that. It describes each sector, subsector, etc. The remaining documents contain various versions of the code in MS Excel. The index file lists all the 6-digit codes. There are over 19,000 of them. Some have the same number, and although related, are not exactly the same. This is what is in the HIePRO site. If you look at the file entitled 6-digit 2012 codes, you will also see only 6-digit codes. However, the number is only listed once and with a more general title. There are over 1,000 of these unduplicated numbers. Now that we have this information, let's do a search. We'll search for tree trimming. Notice the results. 3 codes, all with the same number, and all with the words tree and trimming. Given what we've seen about how there can be other similar goods or services, what you want to do is select the code number, and enter it into the search, either on the NICS site or when you're creating your solicitation. These are all the codes that include the numbers 561730. As you can see, some of them are very similar, but they're not exactly the same. When you found the code that you want, copy it. And enter it when you're creating your solicitation. Select all the appropriate codes. And continue from there. One last thing. You should always check to verify that there are vendors with the commodity codes that you chose in HIePRO. Go to the search, select the vendor tab. Of course, this is the training site, and there are very few vendors in here, aside from the few test vendors we've created. But you can see when I entered the code what came up. A best practice for your research is to select the link to the vendor and then select the Commodity Codes tab just to see if there are other commodity codes that might be appropriate for you to include in your solicitation. That's it. Now you know all that you need to begin using NIGPs. Let's take a minute to review your resources. You have a lot of resources to help you find the correct code or codes, and all of them are accessible from HIePRO. You can link to the NICS website, search from the codes link in the banner. You can use the 2012 search for searching for the code. On the bottom part of that page are a number of resources that are helpful. You can look at the expandable list of industry sectors, that top level category. You can download the MS Excel files of all the codes. A narrative explaining and giving definitions of each sector and subsector is also in that section. Lastly, you can also ask Dr. NICS if you still can't find the correct code. Back on the HIePRO site, you can select Learn more about HIePRO on the login page, and you can access a crosswalk of the most commonly used NIGP codes on HIePRO by selecting Common NIGP to NICS codes. If you're a buyer, once you log in, you can search for NICS codes on the line item tab of Create New Solicitation. Lastly, you can use the search in the banner and select the Vendor tab. You can use it to find a NICS code by searching for a vendor you know delivers the goods or services you want to buy and selecting their codes tab. You can also verify that you have the right code by searching for vendors by the commodity code you selected and reviewing the vendors that have selected the code. This also helps you do your research to ensure there are vendors in HIePRO who can respond to or deliver the goods and services that you are procuring. Now you know all you need to know to begin using NICS codes. If you'd like to review the NICS codes, there's a link on the NICS website, now to the NICS website under Commodity Codes in the HIePRO section on the HIePRO production site. Should you have any questions, contact your department or CPO jurisdiction e-administrator. If you're not sure who that is, there's a link to all the administrators on the site. You can also email Dr. NIGPS, which is available on the NIGPS website on one of the slides, and also on one of the slides for this presentation. Thanks for listening, and good luck with your solicitations. Let's see if I can access the questions. I can't get to it. Okay, the question is, will all HIePRO vendors be notified to re-register, or will they automatically be switched from NIGP to the appropriate NAICS codes? They are not automatically switched because there is no crosswalk between the two. Vendors have been receiving emails for the last 2 months, 3 months, warning them that they should register for NIGPs. And for a period of time, they had the ability, when they registered newly, to register for both NIGP and NIGPS codes. So most, if not all, vendors should be registered for the NIGPS codes. You're welcome. If there are no more questions, that's the end of this presentation. You know where we are if you have any questions after the fact. We will be creating an on-demand video with the same or similar content. Thanks. Have a great day.